Hi all. With this record early spring here in northern Minnesota, I'm really grateful that I started my tomatoes in February instead of waiting till March this year. I am going to start potting some of these today. I have a little different system I'm using this year. I'm using the CowPots. This is dehydrated cow manure basically. They're fully biodegradable. You can put your whole seedling and the pot in the ground, and they're supposed to be really good for limiting plant shock, or transplant shock. So I'm gonna transplant those, leave them in my bootstrap farmer trays so they're a little easier to move around, and put them in my mudroom with the rest of the seedlings. I'm not gonna get too crazy with varieties at the farmer's market. People tend to want a red tomato. There are some people who are very brave and will buy the orange and yellow and green tomatoes for me. But for the most part, if they're buying a plant, they want a red tomato. These are the 4-inch deep. Well, they're 4-inch square, but they're also the deep pot. Again, they're called CowPots. And they're a little bit of money, but I kind of think I don't like to use a lot of plastic. I just don't like the waste of the plastic. And these will eliminate that. And actually I have a lot of people at the market who come and they don't want the plastic bag that I'm selling the veggies in. So hopefully this will catch somebody's eye and they'll appreciate that. And the other thing I'm gonna do is create a marker. I guess a plant stake that has the variety and the growing instructions on it. My goal is to sell maybe 100 seedlings. And I have yet to decide on a price for them simply because they're only this big. So my tomato seedlings here are about 3 weeks old, and so uppotting them now is a good idea because likely the nutrients in the potting soil I used is all used up.
It looks so healthy. Probably some of the best healthy.
Yeah, I think so
Getting
too.
better at it.
Yeah, well the trick, I think, part of the trick is to take them out of here. It's only been 3 weeks.
Yeah, cool.
So most of these seedlings look really healthy. That's not always been the case. But you can see this one actually has 2 in it. And I will probably just let them grow a little more and then snip one off. Whichever one seems to be the healthiest, I'll leave. But these are the first leaves. You can see these ones that don't really look like a tomato leaf. These are the cotyledons. They're what come up first. And usually what will happen, here I'll find one. This is a really nice one. This is an Aunt Ruby's German green tomato. But see, these are the cotyledons and how they're a little yellow, which is totally normal. They will normally yellow and kind of shrivel up and fall off. So you can see back here, there's a few more down here. Those are yellowing. They're kind of drying up and gonna fall off. You see the actual true leaves, which are the tomato looking leaves. If you see these start to look yellow, for me that has meant it's a nitrogen deficiency, and then I want to add plant food or plant fertilizer, and we use an organic kind. Let's see if I can find it. I tried a new brand this year because I had trouble finding my other stuff. I think because I started planting so early, but this Arbor organic plant food, it's a 3-2-1. And I just have been putting that in the water and giving it to the plants once a week. and I have not noticed any nitrogen deficiencies. I have noticed a couple of other things. For example, this tray, you can see some of the actual tomato leaves are kind of shriveling up and are drying up. And there's a few of them back there. See right here, there's a few that are dry and kind of shriveling up. And it can be a couple of different things, but I'll tell you how I figured out what I believe it is. So there's something called dampening off, which is a fungus or a mold that kind of can live in the soil. And then when the soil gets too cold, it attacks the seedlings and kind of basically shrivels them up, kind of turns the stem mushy and kind of looks like a thread rather than a healthy thick stem. But for my seedlings, what I think happened is that I kept the light too low, because it really is only happening under where I had the lights placed. And so I think they got a little bit of sun scald, which is okay. You know, seedlings are actually really, tomato seedlings are actually really resilient. And so adding some plant food, moving the light, either raising it up or even moving it left or right of that area, which is what I did for a few days. And I even reduced the light hours where they were getting light like 14 to 16 hours a day. I actually changed it and, you know, gave them like 12 hours just for a few days, just to reduce the stress a little for those seedlings that were struggling. So you'll notice I have a couple of soil blocks here that nothing came up in, which happens. These are what? Oh shoot, I lost the tag now. Oh man, what were those? Oh, these are Thorburns terracotta. So these are my favorite, and I've probably had these seeds for, this is maybe going on their 3rd or 4th year. So I would say it's pretty normal to not have 100% germination. So what I'm gonna do then is, so see how this has 3 seedlings in there? This one is very small. I'm just actually gonna pinch that one off. Leave the other 2, I'm gonna leave the biggest one in here. And then the smallest one, I am going to slide out and find another soil block. And put that one inside of there and just kind of pinch it in there. And then we'll put you in a new pot. Doesn't look like much in there now, but it will. You'll also notice that there's this kind of white, crusty looking stuff on the tops of the soil blocks. Not here or here, it's just on the top. And I bottom water, and this is actually hard water deposits. So it's like calcium, magnesium. So as per usual, I planted too many tomato seedlings, and I needed more room for them under the grow lights. So I had done 2 rounds, so some were smaller than others. So I brought the bigger ones out here, kind of made a greenhouse within the greenhouse, just covered it with plastic, and at night we did plug in a little heater under there if it got down below 48, I think it was. And the seedlings did really well. And then I didn't check on them maybe for a couple days, and I came back and the mice, you could tell, had just, I don't know if it's mice or mouse, had just nibbled the seedlings. Some of them were like totally gone. A lot of them just had bites out of the leaves. So I quickly took them out of here. And that was the last I've seen evidence of the mice. So I'm going to keep the deterrents and the traps set up. I turned the trail cams on too. Like I actually set up these flipper buckets. So that thing there, you know, the mouse is supposed to run up the ramp and hit the flipper and drop into a pail of water. I have not caught anything in those. And I even had a trail cam set up, you know, for days trying to catch any action around those buckets and nothing. So this is actually 5 weeks later, and I just wanted to show how the tomato seedlings are doing. You see they're much larger. So this would make them about 8 weeks old. Let's see, down here. So you can see some of them are bigger than others, but they're all staying nice and green. These orange Peruche and the Beaver Lodge ones too are really looking good. I have run out of room. All of the tomatoes that I had out in the greenhouse with the mouse problem, I did end up bringing them all back in here. And while it's not ideal light in here, they still do fine. You know, tomato seedlings are really forgiving. Those really tall ones like that, I'm just gonna plant them deeper, so they'll be just fine. But 8 weeks and they're looking really good. I'd love to hear any tips or tricks you use for growing tomatoes from seed. This is probably my 4th year growing from seed, and I swear I learn something new every year. I actually learned something I did last year I probably shouldn't be doing every year. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, we hope you'll subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.